You're way better.
Hi, my name is Sandy Bellamy, and I commission artwork for the DGS Percent for Art program, Permanent Works of Art in Public Space. I'm also an adjunct professor of art history, of world art history, and modern art history at Howard University.
Hi everybody, my name is Chandra J. Raman. I'm a neighbor, I live right down the street here. And I'm also the Vice Chair of ANC 6B, which is in the southeast quadrant of Capitol Hill. I want to welcome you everyone to our neighborhood. Thank you.
All right.
Welcome everybody. My name is Marcus Goodwin. I'm a DC native. Last week, I scaled the monument. I created a petition on change.org to ensure that we have more fair, accurate, positive representation of African Americans in our city and in our society. We kickstarted a national dialogue. We pissed off the president, so we're on the right track. We're starting to make change. I'm really happy to have everyone here. We have 6,000 petition signatures. I want everybody to get excited. I want everybody to articulate their opinion. No justice.
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No racist!
Police!
No racist!
Police!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
Say her name!
Breonna Taylor!
Say her name!
Breonna Taylor!
Thank you all for coming. I look forward to this conversation.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a minute and allow each of these individuals to offer their views and information they have to you about the statute. And then once we do that, we'll ask a couple of questions, and then we're going to, do you see where this FedEx piece is here? If anybody stands on that FedEx piece, they get the mic to ask a question. Please ask a question, don't make a statement. That's the only thing I ask. So, starting with you.
Thank you guys for coming out tonight. We are in a moment, we are in a movement of change. When Officer Derek Chauvin put his knee in the neck of George Floyd, it kickstarted everyone's fire, it evoked everyone's emotions, and it made everyone think about equitable representation in our society. Today, we're protesting, we're telling our elected officials, we're telling our neighbors, we're telling the country, we're telling the world that we want to see an equitable, fair world. When we look at this statue, we don't see fair representation. We don't see a man who's dignified, standing alongside the magnanimous emancipator, Abraham Lincoln. The petition that we put together that has over 6,000 signatures would like to see one of two things happen. One, we would like to see the statue removed and put in a museum, like the African American Civil War Museum or the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. These would be more appropriate homes for this piece of history. Then we would like to see it replaced, preferably with an African American woman. Of the 770 some odd statues in the District of Columbia, there's only one African American woman. That's Mary McLeod Bethune. This is an opportunity for us to get increased representation. Ultimately, number two, what we would like to see happen is a modification of this statue to show someone who's a contemporary of Frederick Douglass, a contemporary of Abraham Lincoln like Frederick Douglass or Harriet Tubman, standing alongside him at the same size, posture, and dignity. If one of these two things happen, our petition will be successful. So thank you all. I look forward to your questions and seeing how we can move society forward in America and around the world with African Americans being empowered, having a voice, and having positive representation everywhere we go. Thank you. Hello? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? There we go. This statue is a symbol. And every symbol must be followed up by substance in what we do. And that's really what I'm calling for. Beyond this, we must address the underlying reasons for racism. The inequities in healthcare, in housing, in jobs, in education.
Taking this down does not change any one of those things. Does not improve the lives of any single African American in this country or in this city. We must do more than attempt to just rip something down. With respect to this statue, if you read the history, there are at least a dozen, maybe a little bit less than that, different statues that were put forth. There is one that was paid for by the slaves that has a different vision for this. It does not replicate, it does not show an African American slave on his knees. It does honor Abraham Lincoln as the freer. In fact, even the Lion of Anacostia has spoke about that, about alternates that we could have gone here. And I think we need to right the wrong here. However, we must not forget the racism that has occurred in our past that has evolved and led us to this day. And we are at a precipice of change. If we do nothing but just simply take down the statue, we are not realizing what we can accomplish in this moment to make it into a movement, to really restore equity and justice for all Americans, all African Americans in this city. We must use this opportunity to do just that.
First of all, I want to thank Marcus.
Sandy, I cannot hear you. You must speak and help her out. Could you help her out with that?
First of all, I want to thank Marcus Goodman for his Change.org petition. I'm a native Washingtonian, and I can't tell you how much I adore that statue and have hated it every time I see it. You know, coming from a public art perspective, the public art in Washington, D.C., predominantly neoclassical, predominantly Eurocentric, does affect our psyche. And I ask anyone who might be opposed to this is to think of what it would feel like to see this statue as a black man standing over a white man and petting his head as if he is a dog. That is what we see, that's what we feel, and that's what our children see. And so, from a public art standpoint, it's important that artwork reflect the true fabric of America, that it's not used as a political tool as societies have done since the beginning of time, going all the way back to Egypt, Greece, Rome, the medieval period, the Renaissance era, and even modern art was used as a political tool to advance American agendas in Europe. So art can be political. Art does have an impact on our psyche when it's in public spaces, and it's important that we are bold and we are resolute in what comes into our public space, that it is thoroughly vetted. And when we go through a public art process these days, it is a very involved process, and it should be a ground-up process, not a top-bottom process, where the community selects the work, and that artwork is a reflection of the vision and hopes of that community. I can guarantee you, back in the 1860s, they probably did not follow the kind of traditional process that we embrace now for public art, understanding we don't plop art into a community and say that this represents you. The public is involved from the very beginning in selecting the artists and reviewing the designs and selecting the location for the art. So I think this statue is one example, but when we look at the totality of public art in Washington, D.C., we're but maybe 5% represented as people of color in this city. We have people represented in public art that aren't even from America, that represent, have a higher representation of public space than we do here in Washington, D.C. So I hope that Kenya McDuffie's bill is passed and funded, that we do get 8 new sculptures around the city reflecting African American contributions to this city. I'm looking forward to this work of art being rectified to show that the black man is not subjugated and demeaned. The black man fought courageously and the black woman fought courageously for their freedom. It wasn't given to us as if Jesus bestowed a gift upon an underclass citizen. This is something that was obtained through many years of fighting, of strategic alliances with the abolitionist movement. And when that didn't work, we have Harriet Tubman in our neighboring state. We're going to be a state. Can I get... We're going to be a state. Harriet Tubman from Maryland, as well as Frederick Douglass, who was born in Maryland, but then became a resident in D.C. But, you know, when we didn't fight for it, when we didn't create strategic alliances and participate in the abolitionist movement for it, we escaped through Harriet Tubman and others. So the portrayal of Black emancipation and Black freedom is completely missed here. It portrays as if freedom was given to the Black American, and it wasn't given, it was taken by the Black American. Can you hear me? There we go.
So for a point of reference, how many people, just raise your hands if you're actively involved in the life of at least one child? Actively involved. Not that you have a child, but you contribute in some way to their existence. Somehow. Okay. So in contributing to the existence of children, I have a daughter. Can you hear me now? All right. I have a daughter. And in contributing and understanding and raising a child, we know how important symbols are. We know one of the first things that they understand are symbols. We know that they learn how to treat each other by what they see. We learn that they learn hierarchies, they learn class, they learn race by the symbols in our gestures. So between body language and symbols, we teach children and we inform the next generation. I am a resident of Washington, D.C. I'm 5 generations deep. My family has strong roots here. You can tell by the last name. When I look at the statue, I realize if we really, really, really care about where generations are and where the future will be, there's certain things we need to be upset about. We need to be upset about an education system that would have you think that Abraham Lincoln was a liberator. He was not. He was not. And this is not an opinion. When you look at the 13th Amendment, if you look at the loophole alone that still supports slavery, whether it's because of punishment, you know where he stood. And if you look at where he stood about repatriating Black Americans to Africa, to Liberia, you know where he stood. And so what we have to understand in this moment is that every single thing that you know is rooted in an education system that was to misinform you so that you would be okay with this. And if you want to be upset about this leaving, then you should be upset about the fact that there's an education system that won't leave if it doesn't. This is something that you have to understand. This is not a true story. If you take the emotion out of it, it's not a true story. When the Emancipation Proclamation was written, it was not to free all Black bodies in this country. That's not what it was. You need 2 things if you want to be a citizen: a copy of the Constitution and a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation, because it will really help you understand what we view in our hierarchies in this country. Black people were considered as commerce. This is a symbol of commerce. This is commerce. It doesn't even belong in a museum. I agree it should be in a commerce. It should be in maybe the Commerce Department. I don't think that's, and I have to appreciate Gloria for bringing that to me and for us talking about that, because it is commerce. And so until we recognize what this was founded on and speak on that, then we can't. And the other thing is, if you're going to quote Frederick Douglass, please stop using his suave quotes. Everyone's using his pacified quotes. It's insulting. I have
to this park because I refuse to have her see this kind of hypocrisy.
Amen.
We were not given freedom by Abraham Lincoln. We stole it. And if you even look at the if you look at the 13th Amendment, even we decided that those words for us would mean that we would be free, and that is how Reconstruction happened. We took what we had, and even before then, we took whenever we could. So all these pretty stories that you have about quilts just hanging and food being passed along an easy walk to Canada, I'm so sorry to inform you, it wasn't that polite. It wasn't that polite. And neither is the education system that you have paid for. Many of your parents paid good money for you to be lied to. And the reason that we're in the situation right now and you're buying every book from wherever you can, I hope a black bookstore, is because you're trying to figure out the lies you've been told all your life and trying to do it in these 3 months. It's not, so you have to be angry at that. And really, after you read, I would suggest Eric Foner's Forever Free, there was another statue where there was a man breaking his own chains. And they denied that statue because they felt that it would cause insurrection. So let's not act like this was the one, or let's not act like that straight out of slavery, that black people with money would actually have all the pull to decide what the statue would be. So I hope we leave this, and I ask you politely, look up the 5th of July speech by Frederick Douglass if you want to quote something. If you want to find something.
Right here. When do we hear from Frederick Douglass?
You can look up that speech. You can look up this speech he said here. Look up the times that he wasn't even accepted as an abolitionist of his time period. He was an abolitionist we consider today. There were people who were abolitionists that wouldn't even accept him. So please inform yourself, and if you want to take that down, the symbols have to go. They have to go. Because if it was your house, and it was a symbol that represented something that you did not want your child to grow up with and walk through their neighborhood and have people bowing to them on their knees for something that they did not even give, you would take it down out of your house, so take it down out of mine. Thank you.
There is not much more that I could add to that, except I'm grateful to be here and have been asked to just give my opinion. And my opinion is, I think it's time to reset. I think it's time to refresh this whole deal. I don't think this sculpture can be modified. I don't think this sculpture should be modified. I think that public art should be representative of the will of the people that it represents. And that is the essence of public art. It just is. It's not for me to say or make that choice unless I'm on that side of the table. I'm usually on the other side. So if it was me, because Gloria had asked me what would I do if about this sculpture if it was my choice. Well, without question, I would not put these people on pedestals there. I would bring them down here, and I would tell the story in this park. Have you all been listening to the stories? Have you been listening to the story? That is the thing that I think has been missing throughout all of this. Why Black Lives Matter and that conversation is so important, because it is a conversation. And we should be listening, all of us. And I believe that this park should represent all the people that support the city, the Black Lives Movement, and all the other the peoples that live in harmony in this city, now and in the future. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And then Q&A.
Hey, let me say something. No, excuse me. Hey, let me say something to y'all. My name is Don Folden, and I bring tours by this statue right here.
All right, get in there. Relax.
Okay, how about that? Can you hear me now? All right, my name is Don Folden. I bring tours by here, by this. I said, I'm gonna speak for the statue. Because let me show you how full of shit all of y'all are out here. How many of y'all have done a Black History tour of Washington, D.C.? Raise your hand. How many? How many know the history of this statue right here? Raise your hand. You see, a lot of people are out here talking about tearing something down that they don't even know the history of. If you're going to protest something, protest turning it back the way it was facing, which was the Capitol. That's the way that statue was facing. Y'all don't even know the history of this statue, but you want to tear it down because you are offended. I'm talking. Skirt. Listen, and let me say one other thing. To all of the people that live in the community,
They pay you to teach.
baby, I work for myself. Don't nobody pay me to do nothing. I do this for myself. And for all of the people in the community that's so upset,
give him the freedom
why
to speak, please.
didn't you clean the statue up? Why haven't you cleaned up around it, community? You so upset and you want to tear it down, but you won't even clean up around it.
Oh, you're not even a panel.
Okay? It don't matter.
Sorry, there's a panel. We're sorry. Let's go back to the panel.
Okay, so we heard from this gentleman. We'd like to take some questions from all of you.
Real quick.
I haven't heard from a relative.
Real quick.
She's a relative right next to you.
That's my great-great-grandfather.
Okay, it's hers as well. This is
I'd like to say
Real quick. I just want to say something. Last time I checked, this was my event, our group's event. It didn't say anybody else. I don't know if y'all know about any other group out here that had an event except ours. Is that correct? Is that correct? The reason why we are having this conversation is not because of old people, not because of the Natural History Museum for African American history. It's not because of the government. It's because of young people. That is why we are out here. So yes, old people out there. I do not like to say old, I like to say seasoned. My seasoned people out there. You had your chance to have the conversation. You had your chance to pass the legislation. You had your chance to get the petition done.
delinquent that I ever bump into anymore.
We're going to pay people to be Medicaid health care right now. Wait.
Grandfather. And if you read this book, which I will give to this young upstart, take that book, and I hope you read it, and I will sign it for you.
That's your
If you
brother,
take
that
that
young
book,
upstart.
you
That's
will
your
realize,
brother.
listen to me.
That's your brother, that young upstart.
Great-grandfather lived.
And that's your brother right there, living right now. He's living right now. That's your brother. And you're going to disparage your own
My
brother?
great-grandfather bled. He almost died. He was chased by slave traders in order to not only set you free, but to set white people free. Don't let me speak. Help me speak. He is the great-great-great-grandfather of Muhammad Ali, of Francis Clay. He has left a legacy. Let me finish. I will, but he's already spoken. He has left He left a legacy here in this country, and he does not deserve. If you want to do anything, build him up. If you want to do anything, erect a statue of Muhammad Ali right there. That's what you should do. But don't dismiss black old people. We don't have the energy for Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Do the foot soldiering right for us. We are the negotiators when we get older. I don't have the energy to be here. I'm taking a chance with this virus just to be here. So please, listen to what he said. He's right. I'm just as angry. I'm just as pissed off. But don't destroy your own history because of that. That's all I have to say. His name is Cedric Turner.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Can I get your attention? Excuse me.
Great-grandson of this man that you're trying to lynch. You're trying to lynch him with ropes. You're trying to tear him down. No, I've had my say.
Let him say the okay, excuse me, let me have your attention. Excuse me.
Getty Images?
Of course.
You know the history.
Yes, I do. Yes, the fuck I do.
Tell it to me then.
Why are you protecting it? What do you know the history?
Why?
Why?
Who paid for it? Who paid for it? Who paid for the statue? Who paid for it? Who paid for it?
The same person we talking
Who
about.
paid for it?
So why are we fighting?
Who paid for it?
Why are we fighting? You look just like me. You could be uniform.
Who paid
Why
for
you
it?
fighting me?
You are fighting. You two are fighting because divide and conquer. Divide and conquer has.
Why are you fighting me?
I'm not fighting you. I'm actually here on your side.
No, here's the thing. Look, here's the problem.
Step out the way.
Any voice that is dissenting, they gonna object to. Any voice that's gonna object to, they gonna, brother. Any voice that see what I'm saying, brother. Any voice.
They are the future.
They are, but they won't listen.
They are the future.
How do you make them listen, sir?
You make them listen by example.
Really?
Yes. Because I would say to you this. If we had been on this market square every day in the last 12 years, we would not be here. The squeaky wheel has been squeaking for generations. And the driver has not changed the squeaky wheel. And now the cart is in the ditch. And guess what? The driver is blaming the squeaky wheel. These people
Makeup of that. What?
You all right?
I'm interrupting the performance.
Yeah, they have a scheduled program tonight, sir.
Cedric, keep talking.
Tell us what you said that caused them.
My mother taught me the legacy of my family from the day I was born. She taught me about Henry Clay. That's all I knew about. And then all of a sudden, Cassius Clay walked into my bedroom. Muhammad Ali, And he instilled in me the pride of my family. And that was what got me to college. That's what got me to New York. That's what allowed me to make 45 national commercials, be on One Life to Live, Law and Order, to write a novel that's going to be published, a book of poetry, prose. I was inspired by the legacy.
Thank you, Joel.
This man is an inspirer. He's not a destroyer. If you want to do something about this man, what you should do is take his ancestry, Muhammad Ali, take the money that you want to make a bill to get rid of him, put it, and erect a statue of the greatest of them all right there, and bring it into the perspective of the American tradition, of American history, to show that we've come from there to here. That's how you do it. You don't burn, you don't destroy, you build. I understand the anger of wanting to destroy. And then to say that we old people should be forgotten, should be dismissed, what kind of sense does that make? Does he have a mother? Because if he does, I hope she smacks the shit out of him for saying that.
What do you think about the Black Lives Matter protests in general?
I believe in the Black Lives Matter protest, man. I'm the first angry person. I'm always angry. You see how angry I am now? I wake up this way. But you got to be constructively angry. Okay? Not destructively angry. You can't be like a train moving down the hill on one track. That track goes two ways. And there needs to be balance.
How do you bring balance?
And you know what? Yeah. I told him I believed in what he was doing. I don't believe in it no more. He's become the liar on the hill. He's no different than Trump.
Who's he?
That gentleman who was speaking, who denied me to speak because he told me, he spoke at great length to me for like a half hour, that he was going to give me a voice to just tell you guys why I came down here from New York City.
Why did you come here?
To show a different point of view. I in fact was going to get between the protesters and that statue if I had to plead, because I'm doing it for my grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren, 1 son. I'm doing it not only for them, I'm doing it for the black. I'm trying to maintain our history. I'm trying to maintain our history and trying to build up, because too much of our history has been destroyed, been redacted. He wants to start from the bottom and go further down. You know, we've already been down long enough. Our history has already been denied to us long enough. That man's history was denied. As soon as I just learned or found out, 2 years, that man is a hero in my family, he has to be destroyed now, and he is not bowing. He is not bowing at all. You see his chin lifted up. It's like mine, like Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali picked up the mantle for him. In fact, everybody in my family picked up the mantle for him.
Can you talk about the story of the statue from your perspective? What is your relationship?
Hey, yo, it's the elder talking.
They want a 7 p.m. shot, so let's go stand.
Let's see Alexandra. She died at 99 years old. Go to my Facebook page.
Right?
Let's see, where should we stand? Kind of where we were before. There?
Right over here. Right here, too. Yeah, this will work. I think your piece is shot.
Yeah. You got? How did the sound pick up with the people? Okay, good, awesome.
Turn your mic on. You want to be that way or this way? And with the crowd behind you?
Oh, yeah, I'll see crowd.
Okay, this way.
What's the lead into this?
They got you.
Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Tom, was that the gentleman that you interviewed earlier?
Okay.
Huh?
Sorry, what was that?
Was that the gentleman that you interviewed earlier?
No.
No?
Cindy!
So he's family too?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, we got good sound off.
Okay, and I was going to say good. Perfect. Sweet. It's good to hear. Did we get the tour guide too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sweet. Nice. Good job.
Yeah.
I was wondering that 'cause I didn't see a mic on top, so I was going to like hold the mic for you.
No,
I guess that's the mic.
No, the shotgun will pick up right.
Okay, cool.
Are they seeing this and hearing this?
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, it's Hash. You got me? You got my shot? Okay, we're going to be back on channel 1 for audio for this. Channel 1 for audio. How did that stream stuff come out? Was that okay? How was the audio on channel 2? Okay, it was audible though. Okay, cool. All right, good deal. Thanks, man. Bye bye. Cool. Yeah, I think your piece is shot.
Okay, sweet. It's quickly up. Crazy how fast it descended into like chaos, or not chaos, but who are the opponents or the of the protesters?
I mean, you can't say, well, we're here to hear everybody.
And then when someone says,
but not you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that. Live pick off the top?
We have a live pick off the top, yep.
Bro, I was like coming off of you, and I was coming out of an alleyway or whatever, and then I just like put a dent to this guy who was this guy's name. And he apologized to me, and then I was
Same bud.
That thing was like his dick, bro. That's
Yeah, well, Bruce, you can see the people behind me right now. This event all began sort of orderly. You know, we heard protesters talking about the need to take this statue down. Again, it dates back to 1876, and some of these protesters are saying it speaks to racial undertones of black people being inferior to white people. Those are the words of these protesters. We saw speeches out here in front of this big crowd here at Lincoln Park. Some of the people saying that the statue should be removed and put into a museum. Others saying that this sort of issue and debate could also be applied to address issues like racism in D.C. But just about maybe 20 minutes ago, a pretty heated argument broke out between some of the older supporters of the statue saying it should stay and the younger protesters. The younger protesters saying that, you know, the older generation had their time to address this, and now it's up to the younger generation to try and get this statue removed. You know, as I was just saying, the younger protesters saying they want to see this torn down, with it being what they call a symbol of racism. But this older generation that we've spoken to, speaking of the historical significance of this statue, one of the men we spoke to, Keith Winstead, he's not from around here, but he is the cousin of boxing legend Muhammad Ali. Why are we talking about them? Because the two of them did a DNA test a few years ago, and it turns out Winstead and Ali are actually descendants of Archer Alexander, who is the man depicted on the statue with Abraham Lincoln. In an interview with us, with WUSA, Winstead was talking about the stories of Alexander and how he saved Union troops during the Civil War, and he says this statue has great historical significance to the district.
Come on out on this side.
Can I get a show of hands if anybody is confused right now?
What's going on?
What's up? Everyone is confused. Explain us what's going on that are battering each other out. So if you're on the side, I guess, of not really liking the statue, raise your hand. Okay. All right.
Now, this event is continuing on right now. Again, it began at 6, and the speeches are continuing. Still many people out here, and the protesters really hoping to raise some more support to try and get this statue removed from its place here in Lincoln Park. Live in Lincoln Park, I'm Tom Dempsey, WUSA 9.
And I put my own life in jeopardy. Whoever might have had the virus. But I came back and
Did you want to try to get
I was going to say maybe just one more, just to like, I want to get a supporter in particular.
Okay, turn.
That's off. Yeah.
Okay, I need to do a little.
Just one or two.
don't take what I said about it. Sorry for having, but you heard my story.
That'll let you stand off.
You know how I feel.
Cool. You don't have to be right up. Okay. Give me a mic check on that, Tom. Oh, hang on, Tom. Turn the phantom power onto the mic. Hang on. No.
Sorry.
Okay, give me a level.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Good to go? Good to go.
The statue, this is disgusting. You should know this was in D.C. until a week ago. And now you guys see it. It is absolutely
What did you think of the
sad.
speeches and
It
this?
is a
First and foremost,
disappointment
talk
that we
about
made
the
it till
statue. What do you
2020, and the fact that we even have to spend time
I'm
talking.
just, I'm losing my voice, but
If someone
I just
grabs your
honestly
arm and
feel
they
like it's
say,
a little
"Ow, that
dated.
hurts,"
It's archaic. I just
you let
think
go,
that
otherwise
it should
people are
stand.
saying, "Ow, that
I
hurts."
can be objective
And why
about
are we
why
trying
people
to
might think
fight
it has.
to
It's
let
been there
them
for so
say,
long and
"Ow"?
everything else. I just think that the time has passed for
We
that.
should
I think
let
that
go of
we
their
should
arm and
kind of be
stop,
more
take away the
progressive in
pain.
how we're thinking
We can
about
take away the pain
how
that
that
the city
image
just threw its arm
resembles.
over that.
It's a man of one color, another color. I just don't think it's right anymore. I just don't think it's the right type of image to be presenting. Even though if you look at it, it's obviously about emancipation and everything else. So I mean, I just think that it's dated. I just think we need to change it.
Thoughts on this big, argument that broke out here between the older generations and the younger protesters? I mean, what do you think about it?
Listen, I think everyone has a side or opinion. In my opinion, the young man Glenn Foster started, had an event today, and while he's not the only person who's allowed to have an event or have people or speak, I feel that it was a little disrespectful that his kind of not movement, but his kind of presence is now being overshadowed by this now internal argument in this dialogue. And like I said, I mean, I'm willing to be objective. I just feel like it's unfortunate that we're having this debate, this dialogue now, instead of trying to look at ways in which we can correct things from history. I think once you have more information, you shouldn't you should try and acquiesce to something that is a little more understanding, a little more current. I just think that the image is
Where do we go from there? My last question, where do we go?
I mean, listen, I think the democratic process is what we need to do. It's weird that I would say this example, but South Carolina, it was in the news, they voted, the democratic process, how did they remove the statue? Peacefully, boom, boom, boom. If we could do that for all of these things, as communities, as governments, take that process. Do you want this here? Do you want this not here? And have a plan for it. I think that's what we should be doing. I don't think it's necessarily violence or anything else that kind of overshadows everything. I just think people. We're seeing the consciousness of people right now. People are trying to highlight the issues that are current right now, and this is another discussion that we're trying to highlight now. These monuments of white supremacy just continue to reinforce the status quo. We want to change that, and that's why we're here.
Really quickly, Jim, when we're looking at the statue right now, I mean, what do you see when you look at the statue?
I mean, like I said, obviously you have Lincoln, you have a slave who's been emancipated. Again, I think the image that is being projected is one man standing over another man. Whether or not the context doesn't matter, but I think I think that particular image is outdated and is not, it's just not acceptable anymore. I think it's something we should change.
Thank you. If you could say and spell your name too, please.
Eugene Beckley, EUGENEBECKLEY.
Thank you so much. Sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
And we have all the speakers, we have the other people.
Yeah.
I think that's plenty, right?
Also, how everybody's up here.
Well, you know what though? If it's a generational thing, see if we can find somebody to argue.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a fucking apology. It doesn't look like an apology.
Okay. Do you have a quick 2 minutes just to talk about
course
that?
I
Okay,
would.
cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
How's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Good to go.
Good to go?
Yep.
What did you think about all the speeches in this event?
Well, first of all, my name is Ricky Cephas Bailey. I'm a native Washingtonian. I live right down the street at 13th and E, near Maury and Kingston Elementary School. My family's been here for over 40-some years. And now, to answer your question, I find it so interesting for all the different opinions and solutions into what everybody thinks should be done as far as that statue is concerned. But my personal opinion is this. Abraham Lincoln may have had his, ways about how he felt about slavery in general, And I do understand the history that he was more concerned with, unifying the country and stop the Civil War, that he knew that was a strategic move to include the black soldiers to help win that battle. So I respect him for that. I think he was a phenomenal president, in spite of what anyone else may say that's negative about him. Now, as far as the slave that's kneeling, it's like the elder said, he was looking up. So, yeah, he may have been kneeling, but I envision him rising, opposed to just staying down on his knees. That's how I feel about it. And I do think the statue should be removed, but put it somewhere where it still can be viewed, and the next generations to come after us all can be educated on what the significance of the statue meant. Not just racism, white against black and Hispanic and all other minorities. We all are one people. And that's what we need to come together on. Respect each other's culture. I respect yours, you respect mine. That's how it should be. That don't mean we won't have no differences, but we can at least talk it out. That's my opinion, sir.
One of the big things with this event was the differences between generations.
Yeah.
The younger generation kind of talking about the older generation,
Right.
saying this is our time now.
Right,
What
right.
did you think about that?
I would agree with that. It is their time. Now, I grew up during the 60s. I was born in 55. So I got an opportunity to come to the march. I got an opportunity to meet Muhammad Ali at Temple No. 4 when he came to Washington to protest down at the monument and the reflecting pool. I saw that as a kid. I witnessed that. My relatives took me to these things. So I get that. But this generation is their time. The millennials, they are so much more intelligent. They got so much more resources than we had when I was coming up. And I think it is their time. And I have to respect them because I have children and grands who are millennials, who will be the next generation. I can't do it. I'm 65 years old. I've made my mark.
Well, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
If you could just say and spell your name, please.
My name is Ricky Cephas Bailey, and it's spelled RICKYCEPHASBAILEY. And I even asked Mr. Douglas when he was there, wasn't he a Frederick Bailey before he was Douglas? And he said, yes, he was. So I may be a descendant and just don't know it.
Pretty big deal. Let's see what's happening over there.
Thank you. God bless you, man.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless.
What's up, Tom?
Yeah, a lot of people are running into the street.
Nice to meet you too.
White power looks like a comfortable conversation for everyone to have so pleasantly for a white-led event. I know what white power looks like.
You see the car rolled up, so I'm going to park that. I ran away. So, like,
What's going on? Yeah.
There's no injuries. If somebody backed up a truck going fast like they were running from someone, but there's no one was hit. There's a guy in the bed of the truck. I think he just jumped in to make sure no one drove the truck away.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Show you some bright shiny objects.
Sorry about that. I just saw people like sprinting over. I was like, is there a fight that broke out or something?
So,
I think we have plenty.
Yeah, I need to shoot. I don't have you B-roll of the statue itself.
Okay, cool.
I need to get a little bit more of that, and I need sticks and the right angle for that. Yep. Yeah, I think we should be pretty good, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I think you got everything you're gonna need.
We have both sides, which is good.
right, I'm gonna go shoot your statue. Where'd you park? Where did I park?
You did? Oh my god, thank you. I remember.
Hey Brooks. Whatever it was over there, I don't know that it was anything. No, it was not.
Oh, I just got here. He was over.
Oh.
Thank you. I'll bring the white car.
Save the statue. We've had enough monumental madness.
with it. Let's do that. Yeah.
That's nice. They would sign up at the statements on there.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, you're good. Oh, but don't burn it.
Yeah. I didn't even see it. I wouldn't have put that so close.
No, that's a perfect place for it. That's a great place for stage.
I'm almost like next line because you kind of stand back and just memorize standardized text, right? So I'm glad there isn't, but and also people don't think that the global look
no effect on your life whatsoever. Bring that energy. The government is
But this, it's time. So, like I said,
if you think you lost this battle, you got another big problem.
Can you take anything?
No. So we're going to go at it. I think I can talk to Scott. Is anybody else, are you like rendezvousing with somebody else here or what?
I believe it's Eric. That's all just full Scott.
Okay. Hey, Tom, can you switch this TV on?
Let me check in. We got a lot of good stuff for both sides. Since they were, anyway, what was I going to say? I'm with Mash right now. Yeah, I'm just going to start looking at Mash. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Maybe if I can, Ash, were you dayside?
No, I'm 2 to 10.
Okay, he says he's 10 to 10.
No, 2 to 10.
2 to 10. 2 to 10. He says he's 2 to 10. So, yeah. Okay, perfect. You got it. Cool. Yeah. One question I forgot to ask. What did you want me to do?
Oh, do you? Yeah.
check here. Can you, once you go across